Okay, for iGames' sake, I almost wish I was clickbaiting you with this title, but sadly, I'm not. Today, I'm going to talk about how a player named LPL Add Oil cheated his way to the #1 spot on the NA server with a 98% win rate in ranked flex queue. And at the same time, I'm also going to expose how broken and corrupted the ranked flex queue system is in itself. So trust me when I say you're going to want to stick around for this one. But first, I want to introduce you to the sponsor for today's video, Z-League. Guys, if you've ever wanted to earn money while playing League of Legends or just make yourself feel better about playing this game, then you're going to want to hear this because that's exactly what Z-League allows you to do. Z-League is a skill-based tournament platform that actually offers cash prizes for just playing League of Legends and entering their tournaments. And the best part about these tournaments is that rank doesn't matter at all because it automatically sets you up to compete against other people at your skill level. So whether you're a challenger player or even an iron player, you'll still have a fair shot at winning the grand prize. All you have to do is register for a tournament like this on their site, play a couple games, maybe even win, and climb to the top of the leaderboard. Then once you get enough credits from the free entry tournaments, just join a cash prize tournament and buy your skins. It is seriously that easy. So make sure to sign up with my link in the bio because if you do, you'll get 500 credits that go towards joining your first cash tournament. And thanks again, Z-League, for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so not only did this guy claim the #1 spot in ranked flex, but he also beat the next closest guy by almost 1,000 LP, ending the season with 2,421 LP. And for those who don't really keep track of this kind of stuff, this is unheard of. It wasn't too long ago that even passing 1,000 LP was a massive milestone, but 2,400 is on an entire different level. I mean, even the top players in solo duo queue only have 1,700 LP. This alone should have been a huge red flag for Riot, and honestly, I'm just overall shocked on how little this issue has been brought up within the League of Legends community. But more so, I'm just astonished that Riot Games did absolutely nothing about it. And it's not like they can even say they didn't know about it because he's literally sitting and has been sitting at the top of their leaderboard for the entire season. Now, I know that flex queue doesn't share the same glorification with players as it does with ranked solo duo per se, but damn, it really shouldn't be neglected this much. After all, it is still a significant part of League of Legends, considering we only have 3 or 4 consistent game modes to play, and ranked flex queue is one of them. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into how this whole mess of a situation went down in the first place, while also exposing how the current ranked flex queue is a complete joke in itself. Let's start off by getting one thing straight. LPL Add Oil obviously did not do this alone. In fact, it was a massive group effort with a lot more people involved than you'd think. This whole operation revolved around flex queue itself and how the ranked system works. You see, in ranked solo duo queue, you have to be within a certain rank of each other if you want to play on the same team together. And as you can see, it's actually a fairly strict system. I mean, once you get to masters or above, you can't even duo with anyone anymore. On the other hand, when it comes to flex queue, the limitations are extremely relaxed. In fact, comparatively speaking, they're almost non-existent. In flex queue, anyone diamond to below can play with each other, meaning iron players could even queue up with someone almost master tier. But more importantly, the only requirement to queue up with someone in masters, grandmasters, or even challenger is that you have to be at least platinum. And yeah, in case you haven't guessed it yet, that's exactly what they did. Now, at first glance, a lot of people initially thought that they were win trading, but it turns out that they were simply just boosting. And the process as a whole is actually a lot more simple than you'd think. LPL Add Oil was of course the target recipient of the LP boost, and so to ensure that he won almost 100% of the time, he would enter the game with 4 of his friends, or more accurately colleagues, who would all use platinum ranked accounts, which again was the minimum requirement for playing with a challenger in flex. Of course, the players playing on those accounts were far from platinum level players, and were instead all challengers themselves, or at the very least extremely high elo players. And sure enough, as you might have guessed, the platinum accounts significantly dropped their overall team weighted rank, and as a result, they were consistently paired up against lower level teams. And as one might expect, they ended up smashing the crap out of their opponents. I mean, most of these games weren't even just wins, they were complete stomps. Watching the gameplay itself, it was actually surprising to see that there wasn't really any cheating going on inside of the games. It was more that they were all just better than the other team, by a lot. And that was abundantly clear the more you watched. Their laning, their movement, but more importantly, their macro were by far more superior than whoever they were playing against. I mean, look at this. This is almost hard to watch. On top of all that, they were clearly just straight up better at playing as a team as well. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys are good players. Not everyone can just consistently beat a full team of high elo diamond, master, or even challenger level players with a 98% win rate. But even after all of that, it doesn't mean that they're not cheating. Cheating is getting an unfair edge or advantage in the game, which is exactly what this is, and a massive one at that. A 5 challenger team is almost always going to beat the team that only has maybe 1 or 2 challengers, in the same way that a team of 5 NBA players will almost always beat a team of college players. Anyways, when it came down to the lower ranked accounts the LPL Add Oil played with, most people would probably assume that they would just buy accounts, and once they reached too high of a rank, they would simply just buy a new one at Platinum Elo once again. And while this was true for the most part, this wasn't the full story. LPL Add Oil did in fact play with hundreds of different accounts throughout his climb, and the accounts did swap around once they reached too high of a rank. But the accounts he was playing with weren't just throwaway accounts, but instead they were accounts specifically made for flex Q boosting. And as a result, he would sometimes end up playing with these same accounts a substantial amount of times. You see, instead of buying new accounts, the other boosters would go off and purposely lose their flex games when they weren't playing with LPL Add Oil. This way they could not only remain on the same account, but more importantly, they could maintain a fairly stable MMR around Platinum or lower than Platinum, making it much harder for them to gain LP. And as we all know from our own rank experiences, this would make it so they were able to win way more games before promoting, which is exactly what they wanted. Take Tokyo Hot for instance. This account has played with LPL Add Oil 34 games this season and has a 97.2% win rate when playing with him. Yet somehow Tokyo Hot themselves still managed to end the season with a 49% win rate. This whole losing while you're not playing with LPL Add Oil strategy is even more apparent when you look at their op.gg. As you can see, almost all of their flex games go in a perfect wave of losses and then victories. What's weird is that the inting isn't as bad as it would be in solo duo queue because at least everyone on your team knows what they're getting into, but it's the winning and smurfing that's really kind of f***ed up. Anyways, some of you might think that this is where the story ends. Someone gets boosted to rank 1 challenger by smurfs and that's that. But the more I dug into this and the more research I did on it, the more I uncovered the real corrupting truth of what's going on in flex queue. To be straightforward with you, LPL Add Oil is nowhere near the only player getting boosted in ranked flex queue. For some reason, I came in with the naive mindset that LPL Add Oil was the only player doing this, but as I went on, it became more and more clear that this is an entire industry of boosting. In fact, I kid you not, almost all of the top ranked challenger players in flex are all boosted accounts. LPL Add Oil, boosted. G1206, boosted. How Duo Fish, now known as VWoo50, boosted. And by the same people who boosted LPL Add Oil, no less. Futaomao, I probably pronounced it wrong, but it doesn't matter because boosted. The number 5 player is boosted. The number 6 player is boosted. The number 7 player is boosted. Literally everyone is freaking boosted, and the list goes on. Like,
what the hell is even that?
It's honestly insane how bad things really are, and it's even crazier that nobody really knows about it. I mean, I didn't even know about it until I seriously started digging into it. Now, based on my research, I have a theory on what's actually going on here. I believe that there's multiple groups of smurfs on Platinum Elo accounts who are selling their boosting services on a black market somewhere. And in order to confirm this, I actually tried to reach out to some of the boosting accounts, but sadly, no one got back to me. No surprise there. Still, while I can't be 100% sure that this is the case, I am strongly leaning towards this theory, and here's why. If you look at G1206's profile, again the number 2 ranked flex player, you can see right off the bat that it looks very similar to LPL Add Oil's. But the interesting part is when you look at G1206's losses, because if you get in a bit closer, you may start to notice something very familiar. That's right, some of G1206's only losses were against other boosting teams, and in this case, it was actually LPL Add Oil's boosting team. Both sides have 4 platinum or diamond accounts, and both sides just have 1 challenger player that they're trying to boost. It turns out that there are actually so many boosting teams out there that this happens way more often than you'd think. I mean, just scrolling through LPL Add Oil's profile again, you can see that a lot of their wins were over other boosting teams. They just happen to be the best boosting team out of them all. As you can see again here, 4 plat or diamond accounts and 1 challenger being boosted. What's kind of sad is I feel like some of these teams could actually reach the top legitimately if they put in the effort, but at the same time, the reason they probably don't do that is because they probably want to get paid for boosting. Anyways, I think it's pretty clear at this point that flex boosting is a real problem. But the real question is, how do we fix this? Do people even care if we fix this? Well, I mentioned earlier that flex queue is one of the only other consistent game modes that we have, and I think it'd be extremely stupid to neglect something like that. It's also a mode that actually encourages you to play with friends instead of sweating your life away in solo duo. So yeah, it's definitely worth saving. But how though? Well, we could start off by being more strict with smurfing, which obviously isn't just a problem in flex. More strict verification has significantly helped fix similar issues in other regions. It also wouldn't hurt to tighten up the rank gap requirement between each player. It's great that Riot wants to open up the option for plat players to join their challenger friends, but that specific scenario really never happens. I mean, at the very least, they could limit it to at least 1 plat plat account per high elo game. Anyways, there's a lot more solutions out there, but that's not really the point of the video. The point of the video is to get this message out there and make the community aware, and hopefully Riot will see this as well. Anyways, please subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure to go check out this video here on why low elo isn't safe as well. A massive shout out to my tier 3 patrons Stefan, Noctech, and James, and a huge shout out to my tier 4 patrons Set Rye. And thank you so much to all my other incredible patrons as well. Alright, see you next time. Bye.